For the first time in 2 decades, Purdue and Nebraska are playing a regular season game in December. The 9th overall meeting between the Boilers and the Huskers coming up next. Momentum for Nebraska and Purdue, 2 teams on the rise. Momentum is a necessary ingredient. Build some, and the ascension can be rapid. But momentum isn't arbitrary. Rather, teams must earn it. One play.
Xavier Betts, look at Betts, turn on the jets! To the house, touchdown!
1 week.
On 2nd and goal. Into the end zone, a sliding catch is made, and a touchdown for David Bell.
1 game at a time. The momentum making starts again today. Ross-Ade Stadium, West Lafayette, Indiana. Football on the Big Ten Network today, presented by Speedway, as the Nebraska Cornhuskers have made their way to West Lafayette to take on the Purdue Boilermakers. And we say hello from the top of Ross-Ade Stadium, everybody. Alongside James Laurinaitis, I'm Brandon Gaudin. And James, we got 2 teams, very different styles for Purdue and head coach Jeff Brom. They want to throw the football. In fact, they lead the Big Ten in that category. Meanwhile, Nebraska, they're near the bottom of the league in passing, but they've had a lot of success running it this year.
Yeah, and both head coaches, Jeff Brom and Scott Frost, are known as innovative play callers for their respective teams. And you're absolutely right. Purdue leading the conference. Nebraska 13th through the air. Nebraska's 5th in the conference in rushing. Purdue dead last, so definitely contrasting styles. But if you are Purdue and you are Jeff Brom, when you have those 3 guys out at wide out, that's why you throw the football so much. Wan'Dale Moore, David Bell, both of which have had unbelievable success here. But Milton Wright, I don't think gets enough credit. Talking to Nebraska's defensive coordinator, Eric Shenander, he said that Milton Wright could start on a lot of Big Ten football teams.
Well, for Nebraska running the football, they've done it with the M&M boys at quarterback, Adrian Martinez, Luke McCaffrey. They are the top 2 rushers for Scott Frost.
Yeah, they are, and they're extremely talented, right? They can get out in the open field, and they can really hurt you. And quarterback runs really drive you nuts as a defensive football player because you can't account for that extra player. But as you said, Luke leading the Huskers, Adrian second. They have to find ways to get other people more involved. And that other guy has been Wan'Dale Robinson out at wide receiver / running back. He does it all for the Cornhuskers. What I found interesting talking to Nebraska's coaches this week is the fact that they feel he can run any single run play that they call, whether it be power, zone. Very few guys, especially at his stature at 5'10", 185 pounds, can run that many running plays. I'm excited to watch him play today.
A lot of skill on the field on both sides, and we have some skill down on the field in Rick Pizzo.
Brandon, great to hear from you. Something for our viewers to watch early in this game. Purdue generally scripts its first 8 to 12 offensive plays. Jeff Brom only half-jokingly this week told us it seems like every time Purdue can run the football, they lose the game. So in this one, against the Nebraska defense that has really struggled to get to the quarterback and cover opposing wideouts, does Brom just abandon the run in those first 8 to 12 and go exclusively to the pass and see how much they can exploit that defense with David Bell and Wan'Dale Moore? And one other interesting note, it's senior day here at Ross-Ade, final home game of the season. Wan'Dale Moore is not a senior, but yes, he was introduced with that group today. So Brandon, you and every Purdue football fan in America can read into that what they like.
Yeah, Rick, certainly Wan'Dale Moore will be playing in his final Purdue home game, possibly. Remember, they could have a game here, Champions Weekend on December 19th, but they are celebrating the final game for seniors and Wan'Dale Moore here this afternoon. Second time in as many years these 2 teams met at Ross-Ade Stadium. Purdue winning 31-27 last year in a thriller. And they will receive the football here at TJ Sheffield. But a couple of nice returns last week against Rutgers. And a decent start here as he's shoved out just across the 25-yard line. So Jack Plummer comes out, his third start since Aiden O'Connell went down with a foot injury. O'Connell is done for the rest of the year, so it's Plummer's show. He was really good against Minnesota, not as great last week, James, against Rutgers.
No, he wasn't. And talking to Jeff Brom, he had told us that he wants just a little more consistency and accuracy out of Mr. Plummer there, and look to get him off to a fast start with those talented wide receivers that they have.
And Xander Horvath, who had a big game last week against Rutgers, gets the first call here. And boy, he is such a tough running back to bring down. With a good first down gain. He had 101 yards last week against Rutgers, his third game over 100. And now a quick screen out to Wan'Dale Moore. Close to a first down. There is a flag down as well, as we see the Purdue offense and this crew that we said is #1 in the league in passing, James, but number 13 in rushing, although they did have 175 yards on the ground last week against the Scarlet Knights.
Prior to the snap, full start, offense, number 53, 5-yard penalty, it's second down.
So that's on the right guard, the freshman, true freshman, Gus Hartwig.
You're talking about those wide receivers, and Wan'Dale Moore, 10 100-yard receiving games at Purdue, and obviously he missed most of last season. He's fourth in school history.
Please reset the clock to 14 minutes and 36 seconds. The clock will start on my signal.
And then David Bell is already 5th in school history, so they're climbing up the charts already, and I know Purdue fans are excited to see both of those players playing together.
And of course, Wan'Dale Moore didn't play at the beginning of the year, but out for the last couple, and has made a big impact. This is Milton Wright, that third receiver, but the pass a little high, and Wright could not bring it in.
Well, this is where defensive coordinator Eric Shenander wants to improve. Nebraska dead last in third down defense. They got Purdue in the 3rd and 10 to be a big stop for the Cornhuskers.
Plummer looking underneath. Horvath now, can he get the first down? He does. The safety blanket, Xander Horvath, and Purdue keeps the drive going. You said it, James, last in the Big Ten for Nebraska in third down defense, and Scott Frost, that has been a sticking point for them all year long.
Well, you're 3rd and 10 as a defense. You have Wan'Dale Moore covered. You make him go to his check down in Plummer, and Horvath is able to pick up the first down. That's got to drive you nuts if you're Eric Shenander.
And here's Horvath on the toss. And that Nebraska defense. Eric Shenander, one other thing he said, James, is that he wants 2+ takeaways. He feels they haven't stripped the ball and gotten enough interceptions this year.
Yeah, and so when you're struggling on defense, you got to find a way to get the ball back for your offense, and it just helps pick up the whole team, picks up momentum within a football game, and you're never going to play for a defensive football coach that doesn't stress takeaways over and over, and I know that's something that he emphasized to us on the call this week.
2nd down and 9, little pop pass to Moore. I like to get it to him in so many different ways, but the pursuit is good. JoJo Doman, Markel Dismuke, the safety there to force him out.
So Purdue already converted 1 3rd and 10. Now they're in 3rd and 11. Last time Shenander decided to go zone coverage, drop in the back and make him throw it underneath. And Horvath was able to convert.
Difficult for Nebraska, Eric Shenander telling us, and any team that plays Purdue, to get your eyes right because of the players that they have and all the movement and the different things Jeff Brom's offense will throw at you. Here, Plummer fakes, and pressure coming from Ben Stilley, so he just has to get rid of it. Throws it out of bounds, 4th and 11.
Well, really nice job by Nebraska. You'll see, look at Honus right there, runs underneath David Bell. That's where he wanted to go. David Bell runs the route right at the first down marker, and Will Honus does a really nice job staying with him, understanding the concept, That Plummer was rolling to his right. Let's go expand the zone. Nice job by Will Honus, and a good job by Nebraska's defense getting off the field.
And Purdue gets the punt blocked. Getting a hand on it, and Nebraska is going to recover this right down around the goal line. Simon Odie, the sophomore linebacker, special teams ace, gets to it, and Nebraska is going to have it at the 1-yard line.
You see right up the middle, laying out across, and right now you got to scoop and score. There's nobody around you. Pick it up, get in the end zone.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. By the way, Levi Falk, the very good tight end in there to get the block. And that's the first time all year that Purdue has used Brendan Cropsey, the third-string punter. Normally, it's Cormier or Collins. And here on the first play from the 1-yard line, Dedrick Mills, who had missed the last 3 games with an injury, takes the Cornhuskers in for 6.
What a start for Nebraska. You're able to get off the field. Third down to emphasis, special teams. Something Jeff Brown talked to us. He said it seems like in every game it's either the offense lets us down, defense, or special teams. He talked about it against Rutgers a week ago. And Nebraska gets the takeaway there on the block punt. One play and you're in.
Wow, what a switch. Levi Falk coming in. He gets the hand on it. And then from 1 yard out, Dedrick Mills, his 3rd score of the year. Great start for Nebraska. Punt block and then a 1-yard touchdown run. 7-0 lead. Now pregame, they did have an injury to backup safety Miles Farmer, who was just going through pregame warmups, went down awkwardly and was taken off on the card. The injury was actually really brutal, and we don't want to show you the footage, but there he is now with the cast on the right leg. But he is a rotational guy, James, and he also was a very important special teams player, Miles Farmer.
Yeah, he started Northwestern against Northwestern, had 2 interceptions in that ball game for Deontay Williams, who had to sit out for targeting. There's also been 2 times that Markel Dusmuke has been called for targeting, but has been overturned, so he's part of that rotation. Just, they really love him in the future here in Nebraska, so that's a loss for them. You never want to see one of your young players go down on a non-contact at warm-ups, and that was, as you said, that was gruesome.
Well, speaking of ankle injuries, remember in this game last year, Jack Plummer broke his right ankle. That was November 2nd in the 4th quarter, and it was actually Aiden O'Connell who came in and engineered the game-winning drive. Interestingly, this year it's O'Connell that's hurt and Plummer that gets the start. And he's going to go to the air on 1st down. Underneath through the hands of Payne Durham, the tight end. James, let's get your auto owners insurance impact players.
Well, for Purdue, it's Wan'Dale Moore and David Bell. Everything starts with those 2 guys on the outside. All-American caliber wide receivers here in West Lafayette. Will Honus has to be the man in the middle to fill in for Colin Miller, kind of step his game up a little bit. And Cam Taylor-Britt, described to us as the best football player on our defense by Eric Shenandoah.
This is Moore, but quickly tackled by JoJo Doman. The linebacker, the senior, coming in to make the play after a short gain, and that'll bring up 3rd down.
So far for Nebraska, the 3rd downs have been 3rd longs. And that's a huge thing. Part of their issue on defense has been that the 3rd downs were 3rd and shorts, easy to get for the offense. This one, another 3rd long.
Remember, Purdue did convert a 3rd and 10 last drive. Plummer, pocket collapsing, and Nebraska, who has struggled getting pressure this year, gets it there, and Garrett Nelson with his 1st sack of the season.
So on the start, everyone's on the line of scrimmage. A lot of confusion. They rest just 5. What that does, Brandon, it gets one-on-one for each single defensive player. They get a one-on-one rush. No offensive lineman can help with another. And you just have to win your individual matchup. That was one of the keys that Eric Shanner talked to us about. Just win your individual matchup.
This time, Purdue does bring on one of its normal punters, Zach Collins. A low punt, though, and Cam Taylor-Britt with a flag coming in all the way down inside the 35. But this may be coming back. No word, by the way, on why Brendan Bopsy punted last time when Purdue had it blocked. But that time it was Collins. So Reggie Smith now has what the announcement. Here's the penalty flag.
During the return, unsportsmanlike conduct for sideline interference by the Purdue bench. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced from the dead ball spot. It's 1st and 10.
That's going to put the football all the way down at the 20. So Nebraska started at the 1-yard line and scored, and now James will get the football on the edge of the red zone.
Well, when you have an offense that's turned the football over a lot like Nebraska has, and really they've had nice drives all year, Brandon, and you watch them on tape. I was watching this week, and they go down the field, and then there's a penalty or a turnover. This is the best start you could imagine right here. The opportunity of one play, and you're in the end zone, and your second drive starts in the red zone.
And both quarterbacks are in the game right now. Adrian Martinez playing quarterback with McCaffrey now getting the handoff. But Purdue not fooled. A tackle for a loss for the sophomore Jack Sullivan. And now McCaffrey trots out. But we will continue to see this as we did last week. And the numbers really, outside of the interceptions for McCaffrey, so similar.
They're almost exact. And they're both doing it better on the ground than through the air. But McCaffrey has turned the ball over a few more times than Martinez.
And Martinez thought to be the better passer of the two. And he is able to get it to Falk, who had the block punt. And that'll bring up 3rd down. What is the difference, though, when you've got the two quarterbacks in the game? Is it simply that Martinez is a better passer?
I think Martinez is a better passer. I think he has a better understanding of the whole offense. McCaffrey has a little extra juice, I actually think, on the ground with his legs. But I think Adrian Martinez just has a better understanding of the overall pass concepts.
They fake the pop pass. Martinez under duress, but he can improvise, and improvise he does. What a run! And into the end zone, Adrian Martinez.
Well, let's make sure that his knee does not touch or an elbow before the ball. He's in. What an athletic play to finish that one off. I love how when he scrambled, he wasn't just looking to get a first down. He was looking at the end zone the entire time, showing why he's a captain and a leader on this football team.
Connor Culp for the point after. And we haven't even played 5 minutes. We do have flags down here on the PAT. But what a start for Nebraska.
Illegal substitution, 12 men on defense. The penalty is declined. The point after is good.
Purdue all out of whack in the start of this football game. Adrian Martinez, a hug with Scott Frost. They love the start of this one. Moments ago, Purdue star Wan'Dale Moore heading for the locker room. And we're not 100% certain it happened on this play, and we're not sure what happened, James, but he was slow to get up.
Yeah, you can tell right here he kind of hunches over. You never want to speculate and play doctor, right? But the fact that he's going back to the locker room leads you to believe he needs a little more attention, and you hope that he's all right. If you're Coach Brown, you got to settle down. You got to get your guys settled down on this drive here. You need to respond. A lot of football left. There's still 10:04 left in the first quarter of this game. You need to tell your guys, look, we just need to go out here, calm down, let's execute, get some confidence on offense.
Well, Nebraska's offense, 4 plays, 2 touchdowns. They have 2 touchdowns on 18 total yards. And that last one 3 plays, 17 yards, and Martinez capped it on the 3rd down, 13-yard run. But the first quarter, Purdue has struggled. The last 3 games, including today, Purdue has allowed 41 points in the opening frame.
And that's why athletic running quarterbacks are so difficult to defend, because you have everybody covered. You almost think that you're going to get him down for a sack, and yet Martinez is able to capitalize 13 yards for the score.
So what's Purdue's response going to be? A designed quarterback run that goes nowhere. Damian Daniels, Luke Reimer, both there to drop Plummer right around the line of scrimmage.
And the timing just seemed off, didn't it? It just seemed off. He tried to go right up the middle, and Daniels does a nice job detaching from the center, Sam Garvin, and making a nice stop.
King Doru checks into the game. They fake it to him. And Plummer looking deep. And it's batted away from Milton Wright. Right now, Nebraska is doing everything correctly. DiCaprio Boodle had an interception against Iowa last week. Knocks the ball away there.
Yeah, DiCaprio Boodle is in perfect position. Just goes up. Nice coverage. And we mentioned that Milton Wright has 4 plays, 4 receptions over 20 yards. They try to take a shot to him there. But Boodle, described by Eric Shenander, D coordinator, as the alpha male in the secondary, making a nice play.
So Purdue facing another 3rd and long, and here comes the pressure. Stilley, he gets in for the sack. And James, a Nebraska team that coming into today only had 8 sacks, now has 2 in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, there's Ben Stilley right here, working on the inside on Sam Garvin, and a nice swim move, and able to finish the pass rush nicely for the sack. He's their active leader. He had 11 and a half coming in his career. Adds another one there, and Eric Shenander has to be very pleased with the start by his defense.
A short punt, and again Nebraska is going to start in plus territory. Scott Frost, his team, they came to play. Senior shout out for Lorenzo Neal, making his 31st start. Missed last year with a torn ACL, had to go 700 days between games the end of 2018 until the start this year. And good to see some of these seniors out here and getting recognized today, although Purdue, it has been a rough start as Martinez gets the first down carry. And James, there have been 17 total snaps in this game, every one of them in Purdue's half of the field.
And what's amazing is that Nebraska has 14 points and Wan'Dale Robinson hasn't touched the football yet.
Yeah, they haven't needed him. They might be targeting him here. Instead, it's underneath. That's Xavier Betts, the freshman. And a first down for Nebraska. Now, keep in mind for Purdue's defense, this first half they are without their senior star, Derek Barnes. He had targeting in the second half against Rutgers.
Yeah, and he is their leading tackler. And gosh, he was on a tear against Rutgers. 9 tackles in the first half, flying all over the field. And when you're playing an athletic quarterback and offense like this, you definitely want him on the football field if you're Purdue.
You saw Wan'Dale Moore coming back. That's a good sign for the Boilermakers. 6-yard carry for Dedrick Mills. James, impact players brought to you by Auto Owners Insurance on this side.
Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson, they want to get him 15 touches, Scott Frost told us. Dedrick Mills back in the lineup, giving a boost to that running back position. Lorenzo Neal, he's a problem at nose tackle, and Jalen Graham adjusting from safety to outside linebacker this season, getting better every single week.
There's the first touch for number 1. And Nebraska is moving the ball with relative ease. They'll have it 1st and 10 just outside of the 10. Wan'Dale Robinson, a guy who both Purdue and Indiana recruited and offered. He is from Frankfort, Kentucky. First Nebraska letter winner ever, actually, for the state of Kentucky, and now back near his home here in Indiana. That's Falk.
Martinez pass complete. Levi Falk.
I don't know, it just seems right now that all the energy, certainly the momentum, is on the side of Nebraska.
Yeah, it is, and Purdue's on their heels right now. You can tell, hands on their hips, looking to the sideline.
Nebraska moving quickly this time, though. Purdue swarms and drops Robinson. So a 3rd down coming up.
Officials timeout for an injured defensive player.
That's Jack Sullivan, defensive end, who is seeing a lot more action due to George Karlaftis being out again this week with COVID. So you're already down Barnes this half. George Karlaftis, your star defensive end, also gone, and you can't afford to lose too many more guys like Jack Sullivan.
No, you can't. And so when you put an injury like this, or one of your teammates down on the ground, it's good to see him getting up and walking off under his own power. But it doesn't seem like there's much. He's talked about the energy of the game so far. Nothing really going well for Purdue so far. Bob Diaco is telling us that the tight ends, Travis Vokalek, Austin Allen, show up for Nebraska down here in the red zone. See the tight bunch up here. Austin Allen at the point. See if they work that way.
Also got Vokalek towards the bottom. Looks like Martinez, though, is going to just throw it away. Got in a pickle, nowhere to go, and on 4th down, Nebraska will try for 3. So the first 2 possessions, they only needed 18 yards for a couple of scores, and now they'll try a chip shot 25-yard field goal. Connor Culp's had a lot of chip shots this year. He's now 10 of 11 on field goals this season, but none of those over 39 yards. Has been a good start for Nebraska. Now, Bob Diaco was the defensive coordinator for the Cornhuskers for 1 year in 2017. And now he's a defensive coordinator for Purdue, but his defense has been put in tough spots 3 times, and they've yielded 17 points so far.
Well, that last series is a little bit of a win for them, for Purdue. To keep them out of the end zone, to say, hey, we held them to 3. We've been on our own field. Let's handle what we can handle. See if it sparks the offense at all.
Sheffield spinning away. Out across the 25 to the 26.
Well, 3 series so far, and Nebraska's defense has been all over Purdue's offense, holding them to just 8 yards. Talking to Eric Shenander, he said, hey, we need to be able to get after the quarterback. We've been struggling with just getting sacks. How about 2 so far in this football game? Here, Ben Stilley finishing off Jack Plummer. Nice job holding this explosive wide receiver core so far in this football game.
Not really giving Bob Diaco's crew much of a chance. Remember, Bob Diaco was also at Connecticut when Scott Frost was at UCF. So there's history between those two. A lot of respect between those two. As Horvath steps out of bounds and flags come flying in around the 35-yard line.
Personal foul, face mask. Defense number 9. The 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down.
Markel Dismuke got the face mask of Jackson Anthrop. So finally, for the first time, Purdue can work it across the 50 to Nebraska's 49-yard line. Purdue just 8 yards of offense. Looking for a lot more here. Wan'Dale Moore back in the game, but he never had a shot at that one. Again, DiCaprio Boodle with solid coverage.
Well, we saw DiCaprio Boodle working one-on-one earlier with Milton Wright. How about Wan'Dale Moore? Look at the coverage in phase. If he looks a little sooner, that's an interception because that ball was underthrown.
Plummer was hoping for a flag. Boodle, that interception last week was the first of the career for the senior from Miami, Florida. And as you said, almost had his second.
24th career pass breakup right there. Really does a nice job in coverage.
Plummer flags flying. This might be a hold, but for the moment, Wan'Dale Moore able to bring it in for a first down.
Holding. Offense, number 69. 10-yard penalty. Replay. Second down.
Let's go to Chicago T-Mobile studio update. Here's Mike Hall.
All right, Brandon, there was a huge question whether Ohio State would even make it to East Lansing for the game this week. They did. They're playing the Spartans, and Justin Fields came along as well. Part of a 12-play, 83-yard drive. Buckeyes strike first. They're up 7-0.
Thank you very much, Mike. Second down and 20 now for Purdue after the penalty on Greg Long, the right tackle. Moore again. As we go down to Rick Pizzo.
Seeing all this man coverage from Nebraska, it's fascinating. We thought they'd have to double or bracket Wan'Dale Moore, David Bell. Instead, Eric Shenander doing the exact opposite. He's letting guys like DiCaprio Boodle go one-on-one. After the last Purdue offensive series in which Boodle broke up a pass intended deep, he went over to the linebackers and defensive ends and said, we got it one-on-one, guys. You guys get to the quarterback. That's exactly what they've dialed up, and it's exactly what we didn't expect from this Nebraska defense today.
Now Purdue needing 12 yards on third down here. Underneath, Moore's got some work to do, and he does that work. First down. But to Rick's point, it's interesting because Jeff Brown was saying last week against Rutgers, they did bracket Bell and Moore, so they had to run the football.
Yeah, he was talking about how much two-man they ran, made the two safeties over top, kind of keeping an eye on Moore and Bell. What's been fascinating is that Bell doesn't have one target so far in this football game. And that's because Cam Taylor-Britt described to us, Eric Shenander said that his stats aren't up there because he's our best defensive football player. Most of the time, he's our best lockdown corner. Boodle's stepping up as well today.
And here is a reverse to Wan'Dale Moore. So he has been getting the lion's share of the touches. And a solid gain there of about 7. Stream every Big Ten Network game on the Fox Sports app presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Download today on your smartphone, tablet, and connected devices. But Wan'Dale Moore, 4 catches. In that last play, they haven't targeted David Bell, have they, Jay?
No, they haven't, and that's a nice job by Cam Taylor-Britt, who's been working on him. But right now, David Bell is lined up in the slot. You have to wonder if that's an opportunity to get him the football.
A lot of eye candy. Instead, they go to Horvath. And Horvath with a punishing run down inside the 25. That is the MO of the junior from Mishawaka, Indiana, yards after contact. And this tells the story. First in broken tackles, 305 yards after contact, and that's in a total of 421 yards on the season.
He runs hard, he's physical, he has that patented hurdle he likes to do as well, likes to show his athleticism.
They did that last week again in the game against Rutgers. David Bell, first catch, but hit and dropped in a hurry. And some words exchanged between Anthrop and Deontay Williams. Reggie Smith saying, use your head, Deontay, don't get tossed out of this game.
Well, he has to. We mentioned earlier Miles Farmer being out. That'd be the guy who would come in.
Waking up Jackson Anthrop. But instead of throwing the flag, Reggie Smith giving a little warning to the senior safety. Plummer. Flag coming in. Boy, we have had a lot of flags. Incomplete underneath to Horvath. Might this be another hold on Purdue?
Holding. Offense, number 69. 10-yard penalty. Replay second down.
And Purdue already with four penalties in this game.
We'll see up here. That's the second time now Greg Long has been called for a holding. Both times he got beat, kind of falling down, pulling the defender on top of him, making it obvious to the official.
UTEP grad transfer from El Paso, Texas. Now deep over the middle for Payne Durham, and the ball is batted free. Deontay Williams. That secondary for Nebraska, they have come to play so far this afternoon.
I thought the ball this time by Plummer was in great position. You see the right hand go up by Deontay Williams in phase. And what I love about the Nebraska secondary right now is that they're not panicking when the ball gets there. So many times you see corners start to grab when the ball gets close. They're not doing so. They're feeling the wide receiver with one hand. They're putting the other hand up to break up the football.
Now Purdue deals with a 3rd and 19. They'll set up the screen for Horvath. And that's still from here going to be about a 44-yard field goal. What do you think you do, James? Well, looks like they're bringing out the kicker, yeah, Dellinger. I mean, it is 4th and 14, I get that, but it was such a tough start for Jeff Brom's crew. And officially it's 46 for Dellinger, and no problem. The 5th-year senior who struggled a little bit a couple weeks ago against Minnesota knocks it through. We step away for 30 seconds. So Purdue gets on the board. 45-yarder from J.D. Dellinger with 1:02 left in the first quarter. Brandon Gaudin, James Laurinaitis, and Rick Pizzo with you from Ross-Ade Stadium under the guidance of Director Bart Fox, Director Andrew Blaustein, and our entire crew, who, by the way, had to get here at 4 a.m. this morning, and we appreciate all of their hard work in the cold weather.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. It's good to be with you again.
Yeah, it's been a while, but good to be back in the booth, partner, no doubt. Well, one issue for that man, Cam Jurgens, the center for Nebraska, has been the snaps. There have been a lot of errant snaps, but so far today, he's been good.
Yeah, and you see the issues from the last 2 games, and those are the ones that the fans notice, right? The ones that end up in fumbles. But Scott Frost was telling us, even the ones that are off that are caught by our quarterbacks, that takes their eyes from looking downfield at the receivers, and they're already behind. They're trying to work kind of back and get in phase with the play, and that becomes an issue for them. So the snap is where everything starts for this Cornhusker offense.
He got pulled in the second quarter against Iowa, but just for a series, and then they brought him back. As that pass incomplete underneath to Jack Stoll. And you see Jurgens and Martinez getting in some work pregame. But the coaches, to your point, James, they believe in the sophomore Cam Jurgens. They say that he can be a great center for this program.
Yeah, former tight end. They love his athleticism. They mentioned to us over the last 2 years they've been really high on him, and they think that he can be one of the best centers to ever come through Lincoln.
2nd and 10 over the middle. Wan'Dale Robinson. Boy, he got upended after a first down gain, as the helmet just comes flying off of Marvin Grant, the safety.
And Marvin Grant is known to be a thumper. Gets low, picks up Wan'Dale Robinson, and I'll tell you what, that's great restraint by Marvin Grant, because usually when you pick up an offensive player, I've been there, you want to slam him. You want to body slam him, which would have drew a flag. That's pretty good restraint there. Maybe his helmet coming off helped him make that decision.
He has to come out for a play, Marvin Grant, who missed last week with an injury against Rutgers, as Dedrick Mills gets his feet tangled and falls down around the line of scrimmage. And that might wind us down to the end of the opening quarter. And it will wind us down. 15 minutes done here in West Lafayette. And Nebraska, who came in only averaging 20 points a game, already has 17. A solid start for the boys from Lincoln. Let's take a look at today's Tums-worthy moments game summary presented by Tums. And, well, yeah, if you're Jeff Brom, you might need some Tums after seeing this.
One play, one touchdown. That's the way the game started for Nebraska. And since then, things have calmed down a little bit. See if the second quarter is better for the Boilermakers.
A lot of miscues for Purdue. The punt block, 4 penalties, 4 plays for negative yards, including 2 sacks, all in that first 15 minutes. Ramir Johnson, running back, split out there. He gets the reception and is shoved out of bounds by the safety Tyler Coyle. 3rd down for the Cornhuskers. The yards ended up being pretty even in the first quarter, but remember, Purdue gave up the 2 short touchdown drives on bad field position as Martinez fires a perfect strike to Wan'Dale Robinson, and he takes it into Purdue territory.
Yeah, nice patience by Adrian Martinez that time. In the pocket, looking through his reads and just waiting for Wan'Dale Robinson to get open. He runs an out route. He just keeps working for his quarterback. Let me drift back behind the first level of the zone. Nice touch by Martinez.
25 yards. Nebraska pointing at Purdue. Anthony Watts.
Offside. Defense, number 8, came into the neutral zone causing an offensive reaction. 5-yard penalty, first down.
And right after the penalty, he goes to the bench. Later tonight, Northwestern taking the floor in hoops in Evanston against Chicago State, 5 Eastern on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Five penalties now for Purdue. Martinez hands to Ramir Johnson. So we saw him with a catch. First carry of the game for the redshirt freshman from New Jersey, who saw increased action last week with Dedrick Mills out.
And this is the first drive, Brandon, that Nebraska's had to actually work down the field. The previous 3 had been starting in Purdue territory. This one they've had to actually take down the field.
Faking the give to Robinson, and Martinez gets shoved down. Good play by Jack Sullivan. And we go to Chicago for a T-Mobile studio update. Here's Mike Hall.
Brandon, another one from East Lansing, and it's Ohio State again doing business. They're 2 talents on offense, huh? That's Justin Fields, that's Garrett Wilson, 28 yards. It's 14-0 Buckeyes.
All right, Mike. 3rd down and 7 after that great play by Sullivan where he pushed the right tackle Benhart into the quarterback. Adrian Martinez a little in front of Wan'Dale Robinson. Almost made a spectacular grab. But 4th down and Nebraska is in no man's land.
Yeah, it's just an option route, Brandon. Watch Wan'Dale Robinson. He's a work one-on-one with Dedrick Mackey. Just breaking off a leverage, and the throw was just off by Adrian Martinez.
They will try the long field goal of 49 yards. The longest kick that Connor Culp has attempted this year has been 39. But he's got the leg and he's got the accuracy. The LSU grad transfer with the longest kick of his career to put the Cornhuskers back up 17. A little knuckleball, doesn't matter. If it goes through the pipes, it's worth 3. It's a 49-yard field goal. That was the longest by any Cornhusker in 4 years. Drew Brown had a 51-yarder back in 2016. Now a 20-3 lead for Nebraska. Sheffield with another opportunity. Slips free. 45-yard line. Flag.
Officials timeout for an injured Nebraska player.
And picking up the flag. There is no flag, but as you heard, there is an injury to Nadab Joseph, who is down on the Purdue sideline. Sophomore defensive back will step aside for the injury. So the cart comes out to get Nadab Joseph.
Yeah, he's right here. He'll watch him. He's just running down Sheffield, and his knee hits the turf pretty hard. As he rolls over, you can see he kind of looks down
the 25
to that knee.
play clock. Thank you.
Before the game, remember, Nebraska lost another member of their special teams unit, Miles Farmers, also a backup safety, and now Nadab Joseph, a reserve defensive back, who's important on special teams. He gets carted off the field. Yeah, it was one of those that didn't look like a lot, but with how hard that knee hit the ground, bracing the contact for him, had to be very painful.
Yeah, full weight going down on that knee. And for Purdue now, you got the ball at the 44-yard line. You hopefully get a little spark from that nice return from Sheffield. Wonder how aggressive Jeff Brom will be.
King Doru in the backfield alongside Plummer. It's not going to be very aggressive here as Doru gets the call. And we go back down to Rick Pizzo.
Brandon, let's focus on Purdue's offensive line during that last break. A lot of conversation about how they are struggling when Nebraska is wide set with their defensive ends in the 30 front. James can explain that more. Eric Miller is now in the game at tackle because they're being told to stop playing tendencies and actually play against what Nebraska is doing. They are shocked by how much pressure Nebraska is putting on that offensive line and not doing a very good job right now keeping the Huskers at bay.
Well, yeah, Rick, that's the 30 front usually means 3 down. It's pretty simple for defensive minds. We're simple people, you know, 33 down. But the stand-up outside backer is trying to guess who's coming, and maybe there's tendencies saying, hey, all week in film we saw this guy coming. Instead, maybe Nebraska is changing it up on him. And that's an interesting tip you got there. Don't play the tendencies. Paralysis by analysis can happen sometimes when you're prepping.
But Eric Miller replacing Greg Long, as Rick said. And remember, you've also got next to him a true freshman in Gus Hartwig. You've got a redshirt freshman on the left side of the line in Spencer Holstich for this Purdue offense. Plummer. At the 25, it's Jackson Anthrop, the senior who's dealt with a shoulder injury to start the year, came back a couple of games ago and is getting more into the mix. Good to see him get into the action.
Yeah, a lot of attention on Bell and Moore, and nice ball that time by Plummer, getting it out there to Jackson Anthrop.
He's a legacy. His brother Danny played football here from 2012 to 15. Both of his parents went to school here as well, and his brother Drew was a basketball player, stone's throw from here at Mackey Arena. And Plummer underneath, Bell. Quick tackle. Cam Taylor-Britt. Taylor-Britt, you noted it, but Eric Shenander saying probably the best player on this defense and doesn't get enough credit because people just don't want to throw the football his direction.
Yeah, and Eric Shenander's doing a nice job. Rick mentioned the man early on in the game. That time they decided to change it up and go zone. Plummer forced to break it down, and now you have A lot of shifting going on. Bottom of your screen, Wan'Dale Moore, Bell. Lethal combination.
They motion Wan'Dale. And wide open, that's Doru, the running back. Turning receiver, Purdue's first touchdown. First touchdown reception of the season for Doru, third of his career for the sophomore from Amarillo, Texas. And the extra point is good.
Well, so much going on with Jeff Brom's offense, so much shifting, motioning. Doru's right here. Wan'Dale Moore's going to come across. Well, everyone thinks Wan'Dale Moore, especially Will Honus. Well, watch out for Doru up the seam. Wan'Dale Moore working as a decoy. No one thinks King Doru is going to go for a touchdown up the seam. What about the play calling by Jeff Brom? Purdue answering.
Jeff Brom liking that drive a lot better from his quarterback, Jack Plummer. That was aided by a Sheffield 42-yard kick return, but you see that things are finally starting to pick up for that Purdue offense.
Yeah, and they were picked up by that nice kick return by Sheffield, giving them great field position, and things have settled down for Purdue. Obviously the start was not to be desired, but things have kind of settled into this ball game, and now Nebraska needs to answer.
On that last drive, Purdue also stayed out of 3rd and long as that ball goes out of bounds, so it'll come out to the 35-yard line. But Purdue had no third downs on that last drive.
Kicking team number 85. The ball will be placed at the 35-yard line.
Current Big Ten standings presented by Discover. Don't forget to tune into the Big Ten Championship game presented by Discover December 19th on Fox. Obviously, a lot of eyes on your former team, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
I think their ability to play this week is an encouraging sign for Ohio State. Some questions surrounding around the game next week, but 2020, take it one day at a time.
Yeah, that's a good motto. It has a carry here starting out the drive for 2 yards. Cooper Jewett, redshirt freshman who's not been in the mix at tailback, but he gets the carry there and then is quickly replaced by Dedrick Mills. We've seen Ramir Johnson. We have not seen Marvin Scott, another freshman who got dinged up against Iowa. He was going to be a game-time decision. Saw the tight end shift, and so they've got extra blockers that way, but they forgot to block Jalen Alexander.
Well, speaking of the defensive coordinator, Bob Diaco, Jalen Alexander right there running the alley on Xavier Betts. And Bob Diaco was telling us he's kind of the Robin to Barnes being Batman, and he needed to become Batman in the first half. Well, that's a nice play right there.
And they'll get Barnes back in 9 minutes once the 3rd quarter starts. Pressure. Robinson makes a miss, taking it out near midfield. So they want to get Wan'Dale Robinson 15 touches. And so far they've got him 3 through the air and a couple on the ground. Dedrick Mills, powerful run.
Brandon, the difference as I watched film of Nebraska all week between talking about Johnson and Scott and all the different tailbacks they have with Mills is just the suddenness in which Dedrick Mills hits the downhill running game. There's no dilly dally, it's just boom, I get the ball, I'm going downhill, one cut and go. You saw it there on that play.
This time they go empty set with Mills off the field and throw it out to Levi Falk. Stretches forward to the 38. fake it to Mills. This time it's Vokalek. Travis Vokalek, who had a season-high 3 receptions against Iowa last week with the catch there, and it's a first down.
And this whole scheme, like these throws that doesn't look like much, but what it does, it puts you in a short, gives you the first down. But it's a check down that turns into just a way to spread the team out, kind of that triple option type theory. You fake the run, where am I going to look? Okay, out to the flat. It spreads the defense horizontally. Doesn't look like much, turns into a 5-yard gain and a first down.
Again, those tight ends you talked about, Vokalek, Falk, we still have not seen reception yet for Austin Allen, number 11. Adrian Martinez on the run. Wan'Dale Robinson. There's a touch down to the 10-yard line.
Well, Wan'Dale Robinson just working across the field, working for his quarterback, and Martinez's legs giving him extra time. Helps the official with the first down signal.
5th catch, 81 yards for Wan'Dale Robinson. There they go with a lot of shifting. And another screen to the outside and into the end zone. Touchdown, Wyatt Lure, the sophomore, first of his career.
You see here, Purdue's just outmanned. They don't have enough players down there on that side of the ball. That's an easy throw, catch, and into the end zone for 6.
And a celebratory moment for the sophomore. Just the second time this year that Nebraska has scored over 24 points. Scott Frost has got his offense clicking. Got Wyatt Lure into the end zone for the first time. But December regular season games very rare, and it's been since '92 for Nebraska, and back in 2001 the last time that Purdue had a regular season game in the month of December. 2001 for Purdue, that was the year after Drew Brees was quarterback and graduated. That Nebraska regular season game over in Tokyo in '92, they clinched a 2nd straight trip to the Orange Bowl. Do you remember who the quarterback was then?
Was it Scott?
Tommy Frazier.
Oh, well,
let's go.
Maybe, you know,
let's go back to that touchdown.
Well, right here you have 3 Nebraska offensive players. Look at the 3 Purdue defensive players. And as I've watched Nebraska on film, they do this every single week. They do a quick shift. Let's go everybody onto the other side of the formation real fast. Purdue looking over. What do we do, coach? There's 3? Well, there's only 2. Cam Allen, as you'll see, he'll run late, but he is too late, and that's why it's a quick snap. Boom, give me the ball, throw it out there. We got 2 guys to block there, 2 guys in the end zone.
27 points now for Nebraska. As I mentioned, averaging just 20 a game coming in. Rondale Moore, 5th catch.
I've been impressed with how Nebraska has been able to keep Rondale Moore essentially bottled up. He's touched the ball 5 times, but nothing really explosive for him. They're doing a nice job leveraging and running the football.
This time the other way, and again they bottle up Rondale Moore and keep him short of the sticks. Purdue sure looking his way a lot. 6 catches, 28 in 3 games for Rondale Moore. There you go, 2nd highest this season. 5 drives, 5 scores. Only time they scored more was their lone win of the year, 30-23 against Penn State. And rolling out, there's Moore again. That's the first time that Purdue has had a 3rd and short in this game, and they convert, and then a flag comes flying in. This might be Deontay Williams with a late hit.
Deontay Williams drives him out of bounds. I think Rondale Moore does a little sell job there. Let me jump onto the bench.
Yeah, Plummer saw it too, and Deontay Williams, not only do you make them play a boneheaded play, but you do it on the other team's sideline.
You know there's going to be extra reaction by the coaches and players, and you just understand once you drive them out of bounds, I understand. You want to drive the guy into the ground, you want to play hard and all those things, but you have to just be aware. The refs are going to throw it. If you do anything, the officials are going to throw a flag if there's anything extra, and you do see an extra push by Williams.
Here's the announcement.
After the play, there were 2 fouls. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense, number 2. That's his first. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense, number 8. That's his first. Both 15-yard penalties will be enforced. First down.
Well, that's one way to pick up 30 yards. I missed the one on Caleb Tanner, number 2. But field position gets completely flipped, and Scott Frost not happy. Or at least he got the explanation from his junior. So now Purdue operating from just outside the 30. And once again, Wan'Dale Moore. And, you know, Wan'Dale Moore left earlier for a moment with a little stinger, comes back. Here's Tanner.
We see Tanner right here.
There came the second flag.
I don't like flags for trash talk, Brandon. I don't like it.
Well, in their defense, you don't know what was said. Plummer. And chase from behind. Heaves it for the end zone. Cam Taylor-Britt defending David Bell.
James, I know you don't like those flags for trash talk, but the officials are trying to make sure they keep control of this game. Down here on field level, I can tell you that over the course of the first quarter and a half, there has been a ton of trash talk both ways. I'm not sure where this rivalry started, but it's gotten heated down there on the field, and the officials want to make sure it does not get out of control.
And ninth meeting, each side has won 4 games, and again, Purdue won a close one here last year, 31-27. Pressure. Plummer down for the 3rd time of the half. And 2 of the sacks, James, have been Nebraska just collapsing that Purdue offensive line.
Absolutely, in a 3-man rush. Rick talked to us earlier about how the 30 front was messing with Purdue's offensive line. Just rushing 3. I guarantee Garrett Nelson and Ben Stilley will be fighting over that one. They're both going to claim, hey, I had 2 sacks. No, I had 2. How about 1.5 for each of you young men? Nice job rushing 3 when you can get to the quarterback like that. What a pleasant surprise for Eric Shenander, Nebraska.
And now an attempt at a little pooch punt. So Plummer punting the football, and it ended up okay down around the 10.
To Rick's point, I understand why the officials are doing that. You want to make sure the game stays clean throughout the whole time. And however, we could have thrown a flag on Rick last night for the trash talk on the Zoom.
That's true. But by the way, speaking of trash talk on the Zoom, there was some good talk on the Zoom. Happy belated 34th birthday to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
1st and 10 now for Nebraska's. Jack Plummer and Jeff Brom continue to debrief over there on the sideline. We've seen a lot of unhappy looks from the Purdue head coach. Straight run here for Martinez, and he gets tripped up. Tyler Coyle, the UConn grad transfer, had him by the ankles. He was at UConn, and Bob Diaco was there with him, and now both ending up in West Lafayette.
Well, Wan'Dale Robinson is in the backfield again. When I watch Nebraska, it's where's Wan'Dale? It's like, where's Waldo? Where's Wan'Dale lined up?
Taken off again and being upended. Kieran Douglas Coming up, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups halftime report. Dave in the game breaking down our first half. They'll get you caught up on everything around the conference. The Ohio State, as we said, back in action facing Michigan State today. Michigan getting their game canceled against Maryland. Of course, Michigan and Ohio State set for next weekend. And Buckeye fans hoping that that game can take place. So now 3rd and 13. Robinson. Safety valve out in the flat, but he's going to be short. And on 4th down, Nebraska will have to punt here with 1:59 left in the second quarter as Jeff Brom takes a timeout. We'll be back in 30. McCaffrey and Martinez. We've seen both quarterbacks per usual, but really Martinez has had the lion's share of the action. And Prista boots it away end over end. That's going to be a flag, no doubt. Cam Taylor-Britt came piling in to TJ Sheffield. Taylor-Britt trying to plead his case, but I don't think it's going to help.
Kick catch interference. Kicking team number 5. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Another Purdue senior shout out. This one for Jackson Anthrop.
Jackson, I'm really proud of how you've been able to represent yourself and your high school and the Lafayette and West Lafayette community while playing football at Purdue University. And I'm happy for you that you got to fulfill your childhood dream of playing football for the Boilermakers.
I'm personally very proud of how mentally strong you are. We love you.
Horvath takes it down around the 30, but I mentioned it, Jackson Anthrop, John and Jana, his parents, located less than 10 miles from here. Jackson Anthrop went to West Lafayette Central Catholic High School, and both parents Purdue graduates. Possibly the last home game here for Jackson Anthrop, depending on what happens December 19th. Meanwhile, Xander Horvath, the junior, getting the carry, but he's going to be stopped short.
Calls their second timeout of the half.
Jeff Brom now with one timeout left. We'll take another 30-second break. Xander Horvath, no gain on second down. And Purdue's going to empty the backfield here on 3rd and 1. And now they switch. Horvath trying to bounce it outside. Boy, he needed to get to the 30. It's really close.
I think he's short.
How do you play this? Purdue's got one timeout. The clock's going to go inside of a minute. Certainly not a favorable spot. Jeff Brom is upset, and 4th down, Purdue's going to go ahead and go for it. Horvath again, and definitely did not get there. Cam Taylor-Britt.
Taylor-Britt, Luke Reimer, who they are big on. But let's look at the spot on the play before. There's nothing down. His elbow goes down. The ball looks to be right on the 30-yard line, Brandon.
I don't know.
Right? His knees are on top of the defender.
Yeah, I don't know. His left elbow may have been down.
Let's check it. And then right there, you mentioned Cam Taylor-Britt, Luke Reimer. Williams seemed like they knew exactly what Purdue was going to do on that play. Big stop for the Cornhuskers.
Reimer coming off a career-high 12 tackles, a solid one there, and now Martinez, with less than a minute to go, throws it behind the intended target, Ramir Johnson. So you're Scott Frost. You've got 3 timeouts in 37 seconds. Certainly you're thinking, hey, let's see if we can get 3 points out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. To stay aggressive. And with the way that things have gone in the second half of games for Nebraska this year, you don't want to take a chance on anything.
Martinez had hit his last 7 passes before those 2 incompletions, and that one was almost picked off as it was batted down by DeMarcus Mitchell.
You see that time, Mitchell hit him right in the face mask. And if I'm Scott Frost, now I'm running the football. I'm making Purdue take their last timeout. The first 2 plays have been sloppy. An inaccurate throw on the first play by Martinez to an open Johnson across the middle, and then that time the ball getting batted down. I would run the football and make Jeff Brown take his last time out.
And they will run it with Martinez, but once again it's DeMarcus Mitchell, the disruptor. And now a timeout taken.
Purdue calls their 3rd and final.
So Purdue will get it back here with no timeouts. 30-second break. So Nebraska will be forced to punt. Jeff Brom, you know that he's not going to play it conservative. First, he wants to see what Sheffield can do. Well, it's going to be a block. Purdue returns the favor from Nebraska's block punt earlier. So they don't need the return of Sheffield. It's Jackson Anthrop getting his hands on it.
Well, what a big play to make on your senior day.
I don't think he got his hands on it. I think he got his helmet on it.
It doesn't matter, all the same. You're counting that as a blocked punt. You think Brown was going to be aggressive before.
Caden Smith says, look what I found. And yeah, now Jeff Brom saying, let's get at least 3 out of this. Maybe take a shot at the end zone. Going for the sideline. Milton Wright pushed out. First catch of the afternoon for the sophomore. So you got a couple more plays here.
Absolutely, and take shots to the end zone. You cannot afford to be tackled inbounds. Take shots.
And Nebraska all out of sorts.
Now you got David Bell down here working one-on-one on Cam Taylor-Britt.
They were holding up Plummer because you got to give Nebraska time for a substitution if Purdue changes. And off his back foot. Ooh. A little dangerous, but it is caught, and it is a first down to David Bell.
Complete a pass. First down.
Well, very fortunate that this was able to get Bell moving out of bounds. But we've seen all year long Bell make catches on jump balls in the end zone. You have to think to go to the young man. Now he and Wan'Dale Moore are both lined up on the same side of the formation.
David Bell, 14 touchdowns in 17 career games. He lives in the end zone. They're going for him here. What a catch! Is he in? No, he's pushed out. Still so sensational. Watch this.
You knew it was coming sooner or later. That's why I brought it up. Look at the concentration. He's got it. The foot is just out of bounds. But when you have that ability, give the young man a chance to make a play.
That was sensational. Even though it didn't count, man, David Bell, all the talk of Wan'Dale Moore, but David Bell, that's a future NFL receiver right there. "27-yarder for J.D. Dellinger, and he hits again. And that winds us down to the end of the first half. So Nebraska got off to the 17-0 lead. Purdue Still down 2 scores, James, but a decent response by Jeff Brom's crew.
Yeah, it was, and not the way you wanted to end it up if you're Scott Frost. You run the clock out, you run the ball, make Jeff Brom take his last time out, and then you get the punt blocked. Not the way you want to go in the halftime.
Halftime coming up from Chicago. Stay tuned. Cornhuskers up 27-13. And today would have been his 30th start, but he had to miss the first half due to targeting. Leading tackler in Purdue certainly will be happy to have number 55 back for the second half. And back here in the booth with James Laurinaitis, I'm Brandon Gaudin. So Nebraska got off to the great start, and really they've done it a little bit differently. Success on offense than they had the first 5 games this year.
Yeah, they have, and gosh, only 30 yards on the ground. And we talked in the open about how the fact that both quarterbacks have been involved. Luke McCaffrey not involved today as much. I would have never thought at halftime Nebraska have 100 more yards through the air than on the ground, but here they are with a 14-point lead.
Well, the issue for them has been the second half this season, minus 59. They've been outscored 85-26 in quarters 3 and 4. As we check back in with Rick Pizzo.
Well, Brandon, James, we haven't seen much Luke McCaffrey because Adrian Martinez has been so good. I asked Scott Frost if he was more impressed by Martinez's execution or decision-making. He paused for a moment as if he were in deep thought and then said, both. Frost was also pleasantly surprised by the pressure his defense has put on Purdue, saying schematically the Huskers haven't done anything different. They're just outplaying the Boilers. And on the flip side, Jeff Brom completely agrees. Despite the fact that Purdue is back in this game after a horrific start, Brom said they were terrible, and all 3 phases have to be better and more consistent if they have any chance to win this football game.
Hard to argue with that, Rick, especially at the start of the game. That first 5 minutes for Purdue was as bad as they've been all year. And Nebraska will receive the third quarter kickoff. Alante Brown, the speedster, the freshman from Chicago, just a couple hours up I-65, steps out back around the 25-yard line. So no reason to change the formula. Adrian Martinez coming back out. 134 yards and 2 total touchdowns. And there is Derek Barnes. 45 tackles to lead this team. Back out there for Bob Diaco's defense. Dedrick Mills, 8-yard carry to start the second half. And Nebraska with tempo. Martinez, easy pitch and catch, first down. This time finding Xavier Betts, freshman from Bellevue, Nebraska. Back to the ground. And Mills upended by Tyler Coyle. Takes it out to the 46. But that quarterback position, Adrian Martinez, started against Iowa, was 18 of 20. Did fumble on the final drive in that 26-20 loss. And McCaffrey's gotten a couple of starts, did come off the bench against Iowa. But it has been the Martinez show so far today in West Lafayette. Coming back inside, Xavier Betts again. And he's going to be a yard shy of the marker. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Well, nice play call that time by Frost, trying to get easy rhythm throws for Martinez. And when you're a good running football team, especially at the quarterback position, and you have a lead of 14 in the second half, that's the perfect scenario, right? You can run the football, try to bleed the clock, but you got to be able to convert on 3rd and shorts like this. And they got Wan'Dale Robinson in the backfield.
Split him up top. Might they run it? They will, no problem. Wow, huge hole. Piece of cake for Adrian Martinez as he had a big hole to run through.
Well, it's a quarterback power. Guard comes around, and Barnes tries to get in the back door there, go behind the guard, does not get there in time. And when you run the quarterback, you're able to get one more, a hat for a hat, if you will. Martinez does a nice job getting downhill.
Ethan Piper, the left guard, was paving the way, and now a handoff to Robinson. Saw him a lot last week, as you mentioned earlier, James, at running back, Wan'Dale Robinson. In fact, he's got 29 rushes coming into today, 30 catches, and now he's well up over 30 in both categories.
It's just not very often that you talk to an offensive coordinator like we did in Matt Lubick, just talking about the fact that he can run every route and every running play for him. It's fascinating to think at his size, 5'10", 185, that he can do all of that.
Those are my metrics, by the way.
He's a little faster.
He's just a little more talented. Falk. And into the red zone. And here they go. Matt Lubick, offensive coordinator. 3 receivers down to the bottom.
There's the mass shift, and we'll see how Purdue, if they can get a line.
Lead blocker in front was Dedrick Mills, and Adrian Martinez takes it down on the edge of the 10.
This is the exact response you want from Scott Frost in the second half.
And there's Matt Lubick, first-year offensive coordinator, who was with Scott Frost at Oregon from 2013 to 2015 when Frost was the OC. And guiding this offense, down inside the 5 goes Dedrick Mills. But Lubick actually took last year off from coaching, thought he might have been done, went home to Fort Collins, Colorado. Took a job at Canvas Credit Union as the director of university relations at Colorado State. And then Scott Frost called him. He wanted him for this job. Scott Frost said that was the only guy that he considered was Matt Lubick. Loves the way that they work together. And that partnership, he's hoping, will last many years into the future.
What was interesting is that Scott says the nice thing is that he's been taking stuff off of his plate, allowing him to be more head coach versus, offensive coordinator and head coach. It lets him attack different things with his team.
Running play for Martinez, right up the middle. And a huge hole to run through.
Yeah, Brandon, we mentioned the fact they only had 30 yards rushing in the first half. Well, how about being up to 78 yards rushing now on the game? I think Scott Frost at halftime making it a point of emphasis.
There's a flag down. .193 total yards for the junior from Fresno, California.
Is a touchdown. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 1, that's his first. That 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the ensuing kickoff. We'll attempt to try.
Dedrick Mackey going back after Levi Falk. And he's saying Falk started it, but Mackey got the push in and the flag. And Nebraska, who has had second half struggles this year, gets off to a good start here in the third quarter. Adrian Martinez now responsible for 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground. Here as well for the Senior Day festivities. Remember the unsportsmanlike penalty on Purdue, so Nebraska will kick off from the 50. But Connor Colt, not a great kick. It does roll through the end zone. Let's go down to Rick.
Well, Brandon, we don't think this injury report is anything serious, but the player involved obviously very significant. Through the course of Nebraska's touchdown drive, Adrian Martinez did show a little bit of bother with his right shoulder, the throwing shoulder. He came to the sideline after leading the touchdown drive and asked for a little bit of treatment. One of the athletic training staff working on the shoulder a little bit, and while Martinez did not seem like he was in much pain, he went into the tent and he has just emerged now from the medical tent.
All right, thank you, Rick. And keep in mind, as Nebraska makes another play for a tackle for a loss, Adrian Martinez tore the labrum in that right shoulder playing basketball his junior year in high school. He was told he might never play football again. Now, I have no idea if that's related, but certainly Nebraska fans probably thinking about that.
Yeah, and it was something that he obviously wanted to get looked at, and it's good to see him. You can tell by his body language he doesn't seem too affected by it.
Second down, David Bell, who for David Bell has had a relatively quiet afternoon, his 5th catch, just over 20 yards. And that one will give Purdue a first down. And it was David Bell last year who had the game-winning 9-yard touchdown run on an end around of the final drive to beat these Cornhuskers here at Ross-Ade Stadium. Horvath staying on his feet and stretching it out for a 9-yard gain.
Well, Reimer tries to take a chance here at Horvath and just misses the tackle. Purdue just trying to stay balanced enough to keep those linebackers and safeties of Nebraska honest so they can't just focus solely on the passing game. But not much success on the ground for Purdue today.
After 175 yards rushing last week, Cam Taylor-Britt coming over to make the play along with JoJo Doman right after Wright caught it.
I love the aggressiveness out of Cam Taylor-Britt. Purdue had set up just a simple now route. Goes right through David Bell. Look, they have a man for a man. Cam Taylor-Britt denies to be blocked. I'm going to go up here, take on the block, and make the tackle. Get some help from Doman as well. But
what exactly is a now route, James?
It's just little look to the quarterback, catch it. Just right now. It's pretty simple.
Figured that was what it was, but you know, we want to make sure and clarify for those at home. Incomplete, Payne Durham.
Look, on defense, buddy, we don't make it too complicated. You know what I mean?
I've noticed that.
Now route, there's little, it's simple. 30 front for 3 down.
4th down and 2, and Jeff Brom, you're down 34-13. He's going to go for this. Plummer rolling. Plummer. Last second complete to Milton Wright. First down. Was that designed that way, or was that just making a play?
No, I thought they had a sprint out to the left. He's looking. Durham was covered. He runs back, and nice job by Wright continuing to work for his quarterback. But that was intended to go to his left all the way across the field, flood one zone. Nice job by Plummer using his legs to keep that play alive.
Haven't seen Wan'Dale Moore yet on this drive. Now a flag in the backfield as Horvath takes it down inside the 20, down inside the 10, and Horvath to the 3. But this might be holding on the Purdue offensive line.
Yeah, Luke Reimer blitzes up the middle and does a little swim move, and look, that's an obvious call for the official when you hook the jersey. Sam Garvin.
Holding. Offense, number 72. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
And that one hurts. All right, today's Built for Success is presented by Rocket Mortgage. And you see the 100-yard receiving games, what a tandem Moore and Bell have been, but today neither is close. Moore has 39 yards receiving, Bell 24. So that last penalty wiped out a 38-yard gain. And now King Doru with a short carry. Damian Daniels was right there to swallow him up.
Yeah, Damian Daniels was working one-on-one on Gus Hartwig, who moved into center after the holding call on Sam Garvin. They took him out of the ball game, and they've since moved Gus Hartwig to center. Asking a true freshman to do a whole lot, going from right tackle over to center.
Plummer, incomplete. Wright got his hands on it. 3rd down and 19.
I have been so impressed with this secondary of Nebraska this afternoon. These are 3 outstanding wide receivers that Purdue has, and nothing has been easy. Wright has to make that catch there, hits him right in the hands, but overall, between Cam Taylor, Britt, DiCaprio Boodle, they have played exceptional on the back end.
And they've kept everything in front of them all afternoon long. Now, for Purdue, you're probably thinking if you can get 9 or 10 yards here, you go for it on 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. You're really trying to get half this distance back on this play.
And they'll go to Wan'Dale Moore with lead blockers. And again, that Nebraska defense is able to contain number 4. So you're dealing now with a 4th down and 13. But it looks like Jeff Brom's saying, hey, we're down 21. We're in no man's land. Let's go for it.
Yeah, and it's hard because when you're in this long of a down and distance, you allow Nebraska to play a lot of zone. And you allow them to play soft and make you throw it underneath. Where if it's a 4th and short, maybe you think man coverage, just take a shot with one of our guys on the outside.
The second time today that Plummer instead opts to punt out of the quarterback position. And Purdue and Jack Plummer still no completion today of over 25 yards. Most points Nebraska scored all year, and they're getting the ball back here with still 5.5 left in the 3rd. Scott Frost's crew comes in just 1-4. Their only win against Penn State. Now Minnesota, that game next week. Remember, the Gophers have had COVID issues, but hopefully they can host them. And then Champions Week, hey, they win here and win those next 2, and I know that those are big ifs given how the season's gone. They can go 4-4 and get into a bowl game as they start this drive from right around the 10-yard line. But the way that they played today, this looks like a different team, certainly than we saw 2 weeks ago against Illinois.
Yeah, and if you're Scott Frost, talking to him during the week, he mentioned that they just need to get a win. They need to feel good about it. They need to display that they can do it to really turn it around for his young football team. And so if this is one of those games that can propel you forward and just show progress with your program so that the stuff that you're telling your team and telling everybody in town starts to take hold.
Oh, a fumble on the exchange, and Mills and Martinez have to jump on it. That's one of the few things that has not gone right for Nebraska today. But Scott Frost saying, hey, I get it. Everybody wants to focus on results, but I like where we're at in the process right now, but probably didn't like this too much.
No, and I tell you, when I watched film this week on Nebraska, it seemed like every game, whether it was a bad snap that we talked about or whether it was a miscommunication on a zone replay or some kind of penalty, some kind of hiccup on some drives, that sets up a 3rd and long.
Swinging it outside, Wan'Dale Robinson. Oh, he's close. I think they're going to say he's a little short. So 4th down.
Yeah, that looks close, and the offensive players are trying to encourage Scott to go for it, but let's see where that football is.
It's close.
It's close.
I think they're probably right. He needed to get to the 21, and Wan'Dale and the entire offense are saying, let's go. What do you think, though? You're on your own 20. Well, Scott Frost is going to take a timeout, maybe in hopes that they're going to take another peek at this. And Scott Frost having that very discussion with Reggie Smith.
prior to the Nebraska request of a timeout, the prior play of a first down is under further review.
So they will take another peek with 3:45 remaining here in the third quarter.
Look where the ball is. It's in his left hand, but when he spins, Brandon.
The ruling on the field is that the ball carrier is short of the line to gain.
When he spins, that ball is in his left hand.
Yeah, that's an important point. Watch where that ball is, because it does appear that this is one of those that's going to be very tough to overturn. Well, this is a good time to welcome in Dean Blandino, who has had limited action to this point. Dean, what do you think of the spot?
Yeah, I think it's a good spot. I think he's just short. You look at the ball in the left hand, Robinson going out of bounds. Where does it cross the sideline? He needed the 21. I think it crossed just shy of the 21. So to me, this call should stand.
And as you're saying, Dean, it's totally on where the ball is. It doesn't matter where his right arm is on that play.
Correct. Yeah, it's where the ball is. So either we get a body part down and then we look at the position of the ball in relation to the line, or in this instance, he's crossing the sideline. Where does it cross? And it certainly looks like it crosses short of the 21.
All right, Dean, thank you very much. They're still taking a look at it here, and an announcement getting ready to come from Reggie Smith.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands as called. It's fourth down.
As we suspected. So
there is no charge timeout for Nebraska. Therefore, the clock will start on my ready for play.
Scott Frost opts to bring out the punting unit. Wan'Dale reacting to the cause. I thought I had it. Now remember, Pristup did have a punt blocked at the end of the second quarter, but he gets this one away clean. A low line drive punt. Sheffield bobbled it. Coming in to fight for it, DiCaprio Boodle, but Sheffield able to keep it.
Recovered by the receiving team. Timeout on the field.
Been a sloppy afternoon for Purdue, but they are lucky to keep possession. Still down 3 scores. TJ Sheffield hit him off the face mask. Got it before Boodle did, though. Nebraska in firm command, though Purdue does have the football now, but it has been an afternoon of miscues for Jeff Brom's crew. The block punt, the 3 sacks, 7 penalties, and then they had the turnover on downs. Get the sense this is a crucial drive if they want to have a comeback in this game, and that's a good start to David Bell. You know, Bell and Moore, they have a combined 15 receptions, but their average is 5 yards per catch.
Nebraska's doing a great job of obviously keeping everything in front of them. And early on in this game, Purdue took some chances downfield. They tried to take a shot downfield to Milton Wright. They tried to take a shot downfield to Wan'Dale Moore as well, but the DBs have held up in man coverage early on, and lately they've been able to play a lot more zone.
Right back to Bell, and as he tried to plant his foot, he slipped down at the 50. It does give Purdue a first down. Pressure coming, and Wan'Dale Moore to the 30. So Purdue with a little bit of rhythm right now offensively.
Wan'Dale Moore runs a deep dig route, means a deep in cut. And right when he breaks, good throw by Plummer. He's able to find that area in the zone, catch it, and get down.
19-yard catch. And now right back to Wan'Dale Moore. And what a play by JoJo Doman. He got rid of Payne Durham, the tight end, and brought down Wan'Dale Moore.
Mentioned the play that JoJo Doman makes. Nebraska's doing a nice job shutting blocks and making plays.
Wan'Dale Moore again trying to stretch out. He needed the 20 for the first down. It's close. They'll say first down later tonight. Northwestern taking the floor against Chicago State, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app.
Wan'Dale Moore and David Bell on the same side again.
And a little running into each other there in the backfield, but Payne Durham able to catch it, lost the ball after he stretched out, and they'll say touchdown for the Purdue tight end.
Let's see if he keeps that foot in bounds. Payne Durham. Yes, he does.
Wow.
Look at that athletic play by Payne Durham to get in the end zone. That's twice now.
That was an impressive and a great shot by our crew. And Plummer perfect on that drive. 6 for 6. Ending with a 20-yard completion to Payne Durham. And it was on a 6-play drive. All Jack Plummer. And Purdue not done yet, back within 2 scores. So Purdue down 2 scores now. This is a team that has lost 3 straight. All 5 Purdue games this year have been decided by 7 points or less. So it was uncharacteristic to see them down by 21. Now back within 14 with 1:29 remaining in the third. Alante Brown back deep to receive the Dellinger kick over his head. Back to the touchdown by Payne Durham.
So Wan'Dale Moore is a decoy. He's going to come across the formation. That's going to cause Luke Reimer, who's the backside flat defender because of the blitz this time by Deontay Williams. He's going to be the backside flat defender. And so Wan'Dale Moore, sorry, here's Reimer right here. Watch the step that he takes because he has to respect Wan'Dale Moore coming across the formation. He comes inside, and as you see the whole thing kind of develop, Reimer's going to step down, down, down. That's all it takes for Payne Durham to get behind him in zone coverage, and the rest, touchdown, 6 for Purdue.
And then Luke McCaffrey with his first snap at quarterback this afternoon, and it is a run, which has been his MO. When he started last week, he only threw 5 passes, and he gets the carry there for 4 yards. So Luke McCaffrey, who came in leading the team with 360 rushing yards, will stay in and hand it off to Dedrick Mills. And you got to wonder if the change at quarterback might be because of the potential shoulder injury to Adrian Martinez.
That's the first thing that came to my mind, because otherwise Adrian Martinez has been operating pretty smooth in this football game.
Officials timeout for an injured defensive player.
And speaking of injuries, I believe that's Jalen Alexander, yes, the junior linebacker who's down.
But to your point, Adrian Martinez was playing pretty well, Brandon, and I thought he was operating the offense efficiently. Obviously, he's doing great on the ground. He was 18 for 23 through the air. Nothing warranted him being pulled unless that shoulder started to bother him and tighten up as the game's gone on.
Yeah, guys, this was not a planned package for Luke McCaffrey. After Martinez collided with Dedrick Mills on that failed handoff on the last drive, he looked like he may have re-aggravated that shoulder. He is in the medical tent as we speak, getting worked on, and I believe he was just emerged from the medical tent. Definitely that right shoulder still bothering the starting quarterback for the Huskers.
Yeah, Rick, we just saw him putting his jersey back over the shoulder pads, but 18 of 23, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 on the ground for Martinez. But right now it's the Luke McCaffrey show, 3rd and 4. And his first pass is a bullet into the chest of Levi Fall.
This is the end.
Last play of the third quarter. So Martinez looks like he might be putting on the helmet to come back out there. And Nebraska 15 minutes away from their second win of the season.
Introducing Voltaren Arthritis Pain Gel, the first full prescription strength non-steroidal anti-inflammatory gel available over the counter. Voltaren is powerful arthritis pain relief in a gel. Voltaren, the joy of movement.
Christmas trees try so hard. Lights and ornaments and little choo-choo trains, come on. The best trees, they kind of only need two things. Peanut butter and chocolate. Not sorry, Reese's.
No matter how early you're up or how late you're running, when you start your day at Speedway, we've got what you need to have a good morning. We've got it hot, we've got it cold, we've got it sprinkled, we've got it ready. No matter where you're heading or what you're craving, we're here to make your morning a little better. Because when you get off to a better start, you go on to a better day.
Wendy's didn't start the chicken wars. They just ended them with Wendy's new classic chicken sandwich. Nothing beats this classic. Grab it now in Wendy's 2 for $5.
I always loved you, Sven. I never said it, but...
Whoa! Did Sven Rod just die?
Yeah.
Can you do it again?
Sure.
Man, missed it again. Lexi, rewind 10 seconds.
I never said it, but...
Don't worry, Julie. Coughing's not new. This woman coughs, and that guy does too. People cough in the country, at sea, and downtown. But don't worry, Julie. Robitussin shuts coughs down.
Adrian Martinez getting loose. Right now it's still Luke McCaffrey back out there with this Nebraska offense. There's the comparison between he and Plummer. And Plummer's been pretty good, especially here in the second half. Brandon Gunn, James Laurinaitis, Rick Pizzo, and Dean Blandino. As we are starting the fourth quarter from West Lafayette, Ross-Ade Stadium, and Dedrick Mills is brought down. Nice play by Derek Barnes. That's the guy they missed in the first half with his team best 45 tackles. For Nebraska, remember, they've had fourth quarter issues, being outscored 37-9 so far this season in this frame.
And those 9 fourth quarter points, fewest in the Big Ten. Definitely something to pay attention to here. If they can close out this ball game, they're going to have to score.
McCaffrey, I thought he might swing it out and throw to the left side. Instead, he's brought down in the backfield by Jalen Alexander. Purdue can get the ball back here. Obviously, plenty of time. Down 14, 3rd and 10.
Well, you get the sense there's a lot more juice. We can feel it up here right now on this Boilermaker sideline. This is a big 3rd down for Purdue.
Pocket collapsing. McCaffrey has to step out well short. And Nebraska will punt it back to the Boilermakers.
Scott Frost mouthing to his guys, slow punt. Telling them don't run out there and snap it too quickly. Let this 20 seconds get down. Telling his guys to take your time.
Not any rush. Don't panic. You're still up 14. And Pristum. Sheffield with a fair catch. So Purdue getting it back. Momentum on the side of the home team right now. Third start most on the team for the left tackle from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he and the offense back out there. King Doru, though, dropped in the backfield. That's going to be almost a 4-yard loss. Deontay Williams with the stop. Grant Herman's the leader of that offensive front. What a senior year he had at Rio Rancho High School, New Mexico's football team. Helped lead him to a state title 13-0, and then he won the 6A heavyweight state championship in wrestling as well that year. And he and Purdue trying to come from behind. Plummer, deep ball over the middle, going up and making the grab is David Bell. Off to the races. Touchdown, Purdue. .89 yards. Folks, we got a ball game.
Well, Cam Taylor-Britt's in great position, and Markel Dismuke comes over and hits his own guy. Looking at the football instead of tracking where David Bell is. David Bell's able to do the rest. See here, he's trying to go up for the football. He misses, hits his own guy. They both go down, and Bell says, thank you, I'll take the football and I'll do the rest.
Cam Taylor-Britt, Markel Dismuke colliding, and David Bell now has 15 touchdowns in 18 career games. And more importantly, Purdue is back within a score.
Nebraska all game long had done such a good job not letting the explosive play happen, and really, quite frankly, Brand, that was great coverage by Taylor-Britt. You just figure if Dismuke takes a better angle or runs into David Bell at all. Instead, here we are. We got ourselves a ball game.
A ball game indeed. 7 points with still 12-16 remaining. And Grant Herman's the star on that offensive line. He had a nice block of Nelson to keep the pocket clean. Just enough time. And Jack Plummer says, I got to recognize those guys up front. 7-point game. David Bell now 10 100-yard receiving games. Again, this is just his 18th career game in a Purdue uniform.
When we were talking to Eric Shenander, he said, look, they're both exceptional and they're different. Wan'Dale Moore and David Bell are different styles of wide receiver, but he said David Bell is just every bit as good as Wan'Dale Moore is. The production has been consistent for both of those players. They're seeing it again here this afternoon.
And that 89-yard touchdown was Purdue's first play of the season over 50 yards. Alante Brown, and here comes a flag. Purdue also has a man down. I believe that's Antonio Stevens. There was a lot going on that play, a lot of jawing. A flag came in, a man down, and Reggie Smith, who's been trying to get a hold of both of these sides since the get-go, is trying to get this all sorted out. Two straight touchdowns for Purdue to get back within 7. And the athletic training staff tending to Antonio Stevens. trying to read his lips. I saw him say there was a holding penalty, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, including certainly the concern for Stevens.
There were 2 fouls, one during the play, one after. During the return, holding by the receiving team, number 82. That will be penalized half the distance to the goal. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, Purdue, number 15, that's his first, will be enforced 15 yards from the dead ball spot. It's 1st and 10. Timeout for an injured player on the field.
And also the cart is coming out to get Antonio Stevens. And we'll step aside. So Antonio Stevens, tears in his eyes, getting carted off the field. There is also a targeting review that's going on right now, possibly on Purdue's Brennan Thieneman on the tackle that was made on that play. Reggie Smith is looking at it. Let's look at it as we welcome in Dean Blandino again. Dean, what do you see?
Yeah, we were looking at it during the break, and it's number 38. We have a runner, so it's not a defenseless player, so this has to be forcible contact with the crown of the helmet. Does he lower the head? Yes. Is he attacking with the crown of the helmet? Ultimately, that's what they're going to have to determine. There is forcible contact with the crown of the helmet. Let's see what the decision is.
After further review, there is no foul for targeting on the play. It's 1st and 10.
So, Dean, they opt against it. You okay with that call, I assume?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Again, there's the posture you're looking for, which is why they stopped the game. The head is lowered, but it didn't appear that that was something of an attacking nature.
Okay, thank you, Dean. And you see Stevens that was carted off, and that's a replay that we did not want to show due to the graphic nature of it. Unfortunately, that's happened a couple of times here. It happened with Nebraska in pregame warm-ups. Underneath, Xavier Betts out across the 30. T-Mobile studio update time. Here's Mike Hall.
Well, Brandon, as much as you guys have a close game, it is a blowout in East Lansing. Ohio State here aided by Trey Sermon going 64 yards to pay dirt. This is a team that needed to make a statement to the College Football Playoff Committee. They're doing so, up by 31.
Thank you, Mike, for the T-Mobile studio update. Adrian Martinez back in at quarterback, left with the apparent shoulder injury. Luke McCaffrey was operating things, and now here's a flag coming in as Robinson is tackled around the 36-yard line.
Holding. Offense, number 54. 10-yard penalty. Replay 2nd down. Officials timeout for an injured defensive player.
So an injury as well.
Well, there's Bryce Benhart right there, I believe working on Branson Dean, and as Dean tries to detach and go make a play, gives him a little tug. Easy call for the official.
And it was big Lorenzo Neal at 325 pounds making his 31st start, who goes to the sideline at least momentarily. On 2nd and 11, Martinez, perfect ball. Robinson, flag in. Why not? We've had flags all over the place today. This one back around the line of scrimmage.
Holding. Offense, number 71. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, 2nd down.
That's on the senior right guard, Mac Farniok.
Well, there he is right there. And he's working on Anthony Watts. It looked like Watts slipped, but the right arm was hooked there. It's just that's a tough one. I'm sure my offensive line buddies would be saying, come on now. But anytime that you fall down with the defender falling down as well, they're gonna toss that laundry.
Wipes out a 26-yard gain, and 2 penalties on the kickoff, and now 2 more on scrimmage plays on this drive. That is a little tall. Is that going to be a penalty? Yes. Dedrick Mackey came in late. And Jeff Brom understandably irate.
See, the ball is thrown really high. That's a couple steps, and then the shoulder by Dedrick Mackey.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense, number 1, will be penalized 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Wow, and that was on 2nd and 21. That is a gigantic penalty. Martinez also took a hit here, James.
Yeah, Lawrence Johnson getting to him that time, but that's just a bad penalty by Purdue.
Dedrick Mills to the 30. A couple of impactful penalties. When this all started on the kickoff, if Purdue didn't have that penalty, Nebraska would have started this drive at the 7-yard line.
You're right. DeMarcus Mitchell got called for unsportsmanlike.
Season high 101 penalty yards today for the Boilers, and Martinez overthrowing in the direction of Betts and Robinson, and guess what? Yep, flags.
Wan'Dale, looks like Cam Allen grabbing right there at the belt line. Wan'Dale Robinson.
Pass interference. Defense, number 18. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
So the penalty yardage just keeps adding up now. 116 penalty yards on Purdue. Nebraska with 87. That's not a good number.
I mean, this might be honestly the most legs I've seen on one single drive in a football game.
Yeah.
I kid you not.
It started, as I said, with 2 on the kickoff, and it's just continued. Most since 2012 for a Purdue team as far as penalty yardage goes. Martinez wide open. Austin Allen, if he could have stayed on his feet, it would have been 6 points.
Yeah, he's mad at himself, but you see the play fake, gets the safety Marvin Grant to step up. A beautifully thrown football. And if Austin Allen can keep his feet, he's in the end zone. But I love the aggressiveness out of Scott Frost and Matt Lubick. Taking shots downfield. You saw it on the previous play to Wan'Dale Robinson that drew the pass interference, that time to Austin Allen.
First catch for Allen, the 6'8" tight end. Now a design run for Martinez.
Hey guys, look at this. Even more jawing on the field right now. You're talking about the penalties, the injuries, the physicality. These are not 2 of the Big Ten's more physical teams. Haven't been over the course of the year. This could be a season's long worth of frustration being taken out against each other right now. That's why we see these massive penalty numbers.
Yeah, good point, Rick. You saw the jawing there. It's been going on really from the start. Dedrick Mills. Flag comes in on the backside as Mills takes it to the 1, at least for the moment. I want to take those flags and burn them in a bonfire right now. I got to tell you. I don't think they'll let me do it. But in defense of the officials, these have been penalties.
Personal foul, illegal block below the waist. Offense, number 11. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, 2nd down.
And that's on Allen. Let's see it.
Yeah, there's Austin Allen right there.
Hey, hit low on Tyler Coyle. Dean Blandino telling us if it's from the side, it's illegal. Martinez out to Robinson. That penalty, I feel like a broken record, but that penalty huge because it backs you way behind the sticks. Now you're dealing with a third down from outside the 20. Now, obviously, a field goal is very important here because it makes it a two-score game.
Yeah, and penalties for both teams. I know you mentioned it already, Brandon, earlier on, but both teams over 100 yards and penalty yards. If you're Scott Frost, you have to kind of weigh, do we try to get the first down on 3rd and 14, or we try to get a little closer for a field goal try?
Underneath, Robinson spinning away, but eventually brought down. Cam Allen with a nice tackle for Purdue. That will make it a much more manageable field goal. From here, you're looking at about a 31-yarder. And Scott Frost sends out Connor Cole. Two for two today, 11 for 12 on the season for Cole. Make it 3 for 3 today, 12 of 13 on the season. 7 penalties on that drive, but for Nebraska, the only thing that matters is they're back up 10. Dave, thank you very much. 7:04 left here in West Lafayette. Let's take a look at today's Protection Spotlight presented by Allstate.
Protection can come in multiple ways. The offensive line doing it this time, protecting Adrian Martinez on the quarterback power for the touchdown earlier in this ball game. Did a nice job opening holes for Adrian and company.
But Purdue still with 7 minutes and all 3 timeouts. Sheffield saw him muff a punt earlier, but he's been pretty good on kick returns. Out across the 20. Football on the Big Ten Network is presented by Speedway. Fresh coffee, cold drinks, and snacks to keep you going. Speedway's got everything you need to get your day off to a good start safely, because a better start means a better day. And brought to you by State Farm. When you want the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Jack Plummer, 30 of 41, 323 yards passing. Escapes, throws, flag down. Incomplete, David Bell. We might have another hold. This has been an issue for Purdue's offensive line.
Yeah, Sam Garvin grabbing the jersey.
Holding. Offense, number 72. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
11 penalties on Purdue. This is the first Big Ten game, by the way, since 2003 where both teams have over 100 penalty yards. That was an Iowa-Michigan State game 17 years ago. So now it's 1st and 20. There's Bell, makes one miss, but he will not make JoJo Doman miss. JoJo Doman, who felt like the Purdue game here last year was his fault because on the final play, the game-winning touchdown, he missed his assignment, and that allowed David Bell to score a rushing touchdown on the reverse. And that has stuck with him. Watch film with his defensive coordinator, Eric Shenander, this week to try to get the bad taste out of his mouth. And that is going to be another catch, but another short catch by David Bell. And Purdue has a 3rd and long.
I think JoJo Doman was fired up for this game today. How about 11 tackles so far? Very active out there. When you play a game and when you feel, I've been there, where you feel like there's a big play that happens that's part of your fault, you are so motivated the next time you get a crack at that same team.
This is a gigantic play in this football game. 3rd and 13, and number 13 lofts it for Bell, and it's batted down. Excellent play by Cam Taylor-Britt. That's why Eric Shenander told us that teams don't want to throw his way. It's a Big Ten standout presented by Auto Owners Insurance.
Well, he times that jump absolutely perfectly, Brandon. If you mistime that, how many times have we seen mistimed jumps by DBs before on highlights? Because Bell is right there. Great coverage, though. And it's all about the timing of that. To go up with one hand, just bat it away. I'm not going to go with two and try to get the pick here. I'm going to bat it away, force a punt. What an impressive play by Cam Taylor-Britt.
Zach Collins with the low punt. Takes a Purdue bounce inside the 45. But that is a big win for that Nebraska defense. Friday on the Big Ten Network, speaking of Nebraska, hardwood. Nebraska and Creighton renewing their rivalry on that hardwood, powered by Unleaded 88, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Big Ten Network, and also on the Fox Sports app.
How about the mental toughness of Cam Taylor-Britt, too? The big touchdown reception to David Bell earlier on. The 89-yarder, you're a man coverage on that one. You gotta love a DB that's feisty. Let's go back out there. Let's keep competing snap after snap.
Could be a huge play for the entire season for Nebraska. Vokalek getting 10 yards and a first down. Again, Nebraska's supposed to play Minnesota next week at home, and then the December 19th game. They hope to get to 4-4, and Scott Frost would hope that that momentum would then take them into a bowl game to get a 9th game this season.
And a bowl game would do a lot for this Nebraska program. He's mentioned the last couple of years that the idea of the bowl game in and of itself isn't a huge deal, but it's the bowl practices, to continue to be able to practice with your guys. That develops the young players. It allows you to give a lot more playing time, maybe with a first-team offense or defense for guys that wouldn't otherwise.
Whistles
Prior
before
to
the snap, a timeout.
Nebraska calls their first timeout of the half.
We'll take it with them, just a 30-second break.
You lead the way.
During the Ram Big Finish event with employee pricing for all, get an average $8,860 below MSRP on the 2021 Ram 1500.
Here's today's Papa John's pickup and delivery, and it was that 89-yard play. No, it wasn't. It was instead to Wan'Dale Moore.
There's been a couple pickup and deliveries by Mr. Jack Plummer here today.
And now Nebraska going to try to work that clock. So 6-yard gain to stay ahead of the chains. And no sense in snapping this until the play clock's way down there. Snap comes at 5. Again, Mills. Dedrick Mills, in his return, has 14 carries, just south of 60 yards. Again, he was out the last 3 games. And Purdue takes a timeout, another 30-second break.
Calls their first time.
.405 remaining. .253 yards through the air, 100 on the ground, and we came in telling you that it's usually the reverse of that. They're at the bottom of the league in passing and towards the top in rushing.
Yeah, the whole storyline was how Martinez and McCaffrey are 1 and 2 in rushing yards.
They will run it here and pick up a first down on 3rd and short. Of course, it has helped that they've got their lead back, Dedrick Mills. they don't have to rely as much on Martinez and McCaffrey.
It has, and Mills is the leading rusher here today with 59 yards. Martinez a little over 30 yards today, but I think Scott Frost at this point, by any means, and early on it started with a special teams play on the block punt. But even through the air today, for 242 in the air for Martinez, it's been a nice day.
Flag, and this play doesn't even get started. False start on Nebraska.
Offense, number 83, 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
And that's on Vokalek. So make it 1st and 15, back him up to the 40. Two timeouts left for Purdue. You'd have to think they might use one right here, and they will, after Derek Barnes gets in the backfield.
Purdue calls their second timeout of the half, 32nd timeout.
A catch Dave and the gang as they wrap up all today's action around the Big Ten. The Big Ten Live football postgame presented by State Farm immediately after we are done here. That was a big play there by Barnes, obviously, not only to get the yardage loss, but now you're pushing them out of field goal range and brings up a 2nd down and 17.
It was an absolute dream if you're Derek Barnes. They send you on a blitz right through the middle of the deep run of the offense on the A-gap. Hand the ball off right in front of you. Nice TFL. But you're absolutely right. With the false start and then the tackle for loss by Purdue, you're pushing Nebraska further back. Will Scott Frost keep running the football? Will he stay disciplined there, or will he be enticed to try to throw it here to get in the field goal range?
Martinez having the option. He's going to take off, and the Red Sea parts. He slides forward, and now he's 5 yards short of the first down marker. Purdue is not going to take that timeout right here.
Boy, with that situation, I know you want to protect yourself if you're the quarterback and Adrian Martinez and you have the shoulder, but if he would have stayed up and fell forward, think about how much closer to the first down marker he could have been. This could have been a 3rd and 1 or even picked it up.
Would assume Purdue will burn that last time out if Nebraska does not get the first down here. Dedrick Mills trying to get the edge. And a huge tackle by Cam Allen to keep him short of the first down.
Cam Allen does a nice
Purdue
job.
Calls their
Low man wins. They've been teaching you that.
Timeout of the game.
Since I started playing football in 4th grade, my dad used to say, low man wins over and over and over. Drove me nuts. But it's true.
Purdue takes the timeout. I think Scott Frost has a decision here. A long field goal, it's still a 2-score game. Do you go ahead and go for this?
I would go for it, just because of the fact Purdue has no timeouts left. There's only so much time that they can operate. They have to have massive, big plays when they get the ball back. So if I'm Scott Frost, I'm trying to ice this thing. I'm trying to get a first down, have confidence in my team to get it done. I'm going for this.
And if they do get a first down, that's it. All they'll have to do from there on out is kneel it.
But I go back to that quarterback run by Martinez. If he doesn't slide, because they mark it where the slide starts. That's why it ends up being a 3rd and 5. If that's a 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, maybe Mills picks up the first down now. Or on 1st and 10 instead of now being 4th and 2.
And they are going for it. It's Martinez, and it's batted down. And Purdue stays alive thanks to Tyler Coyle.
You're absolutely right. As they had Austin Allen out in the flat. If Tyler Coyle does not elevate and bat this ball down, he is open. Austin Allen has a step. Look at the elevation by Coyle to get his hands on that football. What a big play for Purdue.
Coyle was thinking, man, if I could have intercepted that, things could have gotten real interesting. So Plummer back out there, and he almost throws the interception. Cam Taylor-Britt had both hands on it. It's a guy who had 3 picks last year, 1 this season.
Well, this could have sealed it for Nebraska. That ball underthrown by Plummer. Got to give Bell a chance. Cam Taylor-Britt, missed opportunity.
Plummer, his 46th pass of the afternoon. Wan'Dale Moore, just a 3 or 4 yard gain. You know, Cam Taylor-Britt almost gave us our first turnover. We've had all the penalties and 2 blocked punts, but there have been no turnovers this afternoon. And Plummer wide of Moore. 4th down and 6. So the ball game is going to be over if Purdue can't find 6 yards here. Now, even if they can't find 6 yards, you got no timeouts. You need a touchdown, the onside kick, and then a field goal to try to force overtime.
Well, you got JoJo Doman lined up over top of Wan'Dale Moore. You have to think that there's help. They're not going to put a linebacker on Moore. I think zone coverage.
Plummer grab from behind, and Plummer flips it back. The ball pops free, but I believe Purdue held on to it. But either way, it's 4th down. Nebraska has the football, and Nebraska can just kneel it from here on out and claim their 2nd win of the season.
Well, the pass rush again by Nebraska, making a big play, making sure Plummer could not step up and throw that football. And what a nice win for Scott Frost. Talked to us earlier this week about this was, they just need to be able to get a win, to feel good about themselves, to believe in what they're doing. This is one of those wins. If you can stack them now, we don't know about the status of next week's game. As you mentioned, Minnesota has had issues with COVID, and we don't know the status of those players and whether they'll be able to play the game. But if they are, if you're able to stack wins, if you're the Cornhuskers, and then you mentioned the Champions Week, and then getting those bowl practices, all those extra hours on the field would make a huge difference for Scott Frost in Nebraska, trying to grow these young players.
And those tackles for loss, you mentioned 9 of them for the Cornhuskers. That went a long way in helping them win this game. Later tonight, don't forget, Chicago State Northwestern, 5 Eastern right here on the Big Ten Network. Just one more snap for Nebraska. And they will head out of here with the victory. The 9th meeting between these 2 programs goes the way of Scott Frost and the Nebraska Cornhuskers as Nebraska takes a 5-4 series advantage. And Nebraska took the lead on their first offensive snap from the 1 yard line after the block punt, and they never gave it up.
You see that man right there, Wan'Dale Robinson. 9 receptions, 114 yards.
Well, they said they wanted to get him 15 touches. But right now, if you look at the yardage, again, it was totally different than what we've seen in some previous weeks from Nebraska. 253 through the air, 111 on the ground. Purdue finishes this game with -2 rushing yards. Everything for them was from Jack Plummer on the pass. And Rick Pizos with Scott Frost.
Scott, from our perspective, Adrian Martinez was nearly flawless. How do you describe your quarterback's performance?
You know, he's been down a little bit. We took him out of a game, but he handled that the right way. He's a really high-character kid, and it's great to see him redeem himself.
Obviously, I'm sure you're proud of your team's mental toughness. The second half has not been good to you this year, but when Purdue started to mount a comeback, your guys never really blinked. What does that say about your team?
Yeah, it says a lot, just what we've been through, for them to still come out and play the way that they're playing, especially with all the young guys we got playing. It says a lot about where we are. Still made some mistakes that made it closer than it probably should have been, but I was glad to see them finishing.
I know you've mentioned confidence as one of the biggest difference makers between winning and losing close games. How much can a win like this help in that regard?
Any win helps. That's a good team we played.
I ain't gonna say nothing. Hi, everybody.
I love this team, and good things are ahead.
They love you, and as we can see. Congratulations, Scott.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
All right, DiCaprio Boodle there coming up to say hello to his head coach, Adrian Martinez. 242 yards passing, responsible for 3 touchdowns as Nebraska took the lead early and stayed up late to get the 37-27 win. For James Laurinaitis, Rick Pizzo, Dean Blandino, I'm Brandon Gaudin as we say so long from West Lafayette.
The Big Ten Live postgame show is presented by State Farm.
Martinez under duress, but he can improvise, and improvise he does. And into the end zone, Adrian Martinez. What a run.
And what a day for the Huskers. Nebraska desperately needed a win as it headed into West Lafayette, and thanks in large part to the heroics of Adrian Martinez, the Huskers got